Hi there, I'm John from CNCKing.com, and today we make custom display board prototypes. Now when it comes to prototyping materials and designs, there's no point jumping right to the expensive stuff. Generally what we do is use the cheap stuff to test things out. In this case here, the actual project entailed using MDF, but I already had the plywood lined up. 1/4 inch MDF and 1/4 inch plywood are basically interchangeable for this specific application here for prototyping. So that's why I ended up using the laser for it, and I ended up using just plywood. Generally, when it comes to deciding what machine we're going to use to do a project, generally it's the design that tells us what to use. In this case here, you can see everything's nice and rounded. So that to me just screams CNC router, especially if you're doing a production run. Now in this case here, the actual material will be a much thicker and much tougher material to work with. So again, that's another reason to use the router over the laser. The nice thing about the router is that it has a two-way feedback mechanism built in. Because you have a router at a specific diameter and a specific height, off or into the material. While with the laser, you'll notice there's none of that. It's a dumb machine. It just throws the power down, and you have to tell it how fast or slow to go in order to cut through the material if that's what you want to do, or engraving and so forth. Now, when it comes to actual cutting out the design and doing the prototyping, quite a bit of that can actually be done digitally. And whenever I do custom model kits and that kind of stuff that you can see on sandboxranch.com, all of that stuff, most of the prototyping is done virtually. And the nice thing about that is I'm not wasting machine time, materials, and a whole bunch of other sort of time. It's a lot easier to modify pixels than it is to modify a physical model. Now for this one here, as I mentioned, everything will be done actually in polycarbonate, which is 1/4 inch, and that's too much for the laser. The reason is the heat that the laser generates in the polycarbonate, it sort of holds onto it. It's almost like stainless steel. And it just holds onto the heat and starts to bubble, and it's not a really nice thing. Now, if it's really thin polycarbonate, absolutely no problem. The laser is superior to that than the router. But in this case here, 1/4 inch again is router. So every aspect of this job screams router, but I just happen to have my laser, so might as well run that. Now for the actual production run, where we actually use our router, you notice on the design there's no sharp inner corners. There's nothing that's really requires a laser to be cutting this stuff. Especially with 1/4 inch polycarbonate, it's a very hard material, and the laser has a tough time getting through it with a nice clean cut, while our CNC router does that absolutely no problem, a lot faster, far more efficient. So for the actual production run, once the prototype is tested out, we'll be doing it with our CNC router using polycarbonate. So when it comes to prototyping, just remember, you don't have to use expensive material first. Any machine sort of works, they're interchangeable. So the precision of a laser is really the same as a router, as a plasma cutter. They're really much interchangeable. Something to keep in mind regarding material, if you're gonna have something where, we did some prototypes a while ago, where the customer was actually using an angle grinder to cut out the project. And we actually ended up doing that with the plasma cutter using stainless steel. Or actually it was mild steel for that specific project, because it just happens to be the best material for that application. Now if you would have done it of wood or polycarbonate, that would have worked as well, but they wanted something incredibly robust and heavy that they could just lay it down on a material and cut around it manually. So if you're looking for custom prototypes of various projects, contact me at CNCKing.com. We'll make it for you and ship it right to your door.